Well, what I have set up here is going to be like the control box of a basic air conditioner. We have a 40 microfarad by 5 microfarad dual capacitor. The 40 is for the compressor and the 5 is for the fan. So I'm going to turn this thing around. Okay. And so what I have here is set up like you would normally see it in a unit. I got to get it further away. Is I have a contactor, compressor contactor, got the incoming power that would be coming into it. Down here I have, this would be the common, the black is the common to the compressor, the orange is the common to the fan motor, and over here I have the run, yellow for the fan motor and yellow for the compressor. And then I have a yellow jumper wire going to the center contact on the dual capacitor. It's sort of hard to see, but this says Herm right here. In the middle there's a C, and down at the bottom here it says fan. And they're all marked the same way. Some of the capacitors, the dual capacitors, are round, so they're just sort of evenly spaced around the circle. So what you see, and this is not unusual. First of all, the start for the fan motor is brown, and that is very, very common. Carrier Bryant uses blue for the start for their compressor, and they also use yellow for the run on the compressor. So as we know, the capacitors are going from run to start, so we have run for both motors because run is one of the power coming in, common is the other power coming in going to the compressor. You don't see any more commons here other than the orange going to the fan. So the fan start is brown, and we're to run here. The compressor start is blue, and we're going from run to start here, run to start there. And so this is a typical hookup for a, I'm going to turn this other light off, for a typical unit. And so what we're going to do is, one of the people had a hard time, they sent me an email, they weren't sure how we're going to do this. So what I'm going to do, I won't do it on the video, I'm going to take the, well, once I get it off, I'll do it on the video. I'm going to hook up 2 single capacitors. I have a 5 microfarad capacitor for the fan, and I have a 40 microfarad for the compressor, and we're going to hook up these 2 singles to replace the dual capacitor, because either one side or both sides are bad. And I can't tell you, I would say almost half the time this is one of the things we do in the service call. The capacitors are you know, just a weak spot in the system, much better than they used to be. But this, we just have to change them so often. And I believe I sent out a drawing how to do it, and that second page of that drawing shows you what I stock on the capacitors from 20 on down to 60 or 80 microfarads at 440 volts. And then I have 4, 5, 7.5, and 10, the little ones like this, and usually these are 370 volts. So that handout there, that one I sent yesterday, tells you that you know, the voltage on the capacitor is the voltage has to be equal to or greater than what you're replacing. The microfarads have to be exactly the same. So in our trade, the voltage on the capacitors are either 370 or 440. Don't know why that is. It's been that around. I've been in the trade for 50 years, and it's been that way as long as I've been around. But they work off back electromotive force. If you had an opportunity to check the voltage, say from start to common on the compressor, this voltage between the start and the common would be almost around twice as much as the input voltage. So as the thing I sent you that says that a 230 volt fed unit could, on the back electromotive force, be as high as over 400 volts. So that's the volts that has to do with the volts on the capacitors. And they used smaller ones back then because they were smaller compressors, and the voltage going back wasn't as high. But I don't stock any 370s because this one here is a 40 by 440, and I can replace a 40 by 440 or a 40 by 370 because the voltage has to be equal to or greater. It's equal on the 440 and it's greater than 370. There's no reason for me to stock 370s. And then I usually have 2 5s, 2 7.5s in my truck, and 2 10s. That pretty much covers anything. And so I get the sheet, something like 28 capacitors I have on my truck instead of some horrendous number like 60, and space is always important on a truck. So when you have your truck, you can do what you want. The 2 red wires sticking out represent where the 24 volts is going to go. Now I'm going to shut this off and go ahead and remove that single capacitor, and then I'm going to hook up the remove the dual capacitors and hook up the 2 singles. I'll be right back.